Todd, but Todd and Cam were friends, and they started making chocolate in a garage. They had time on their hands and they just wanted to start it off as a hobby. They didn't have any chocolate, food science, or culinary background. They knew nothing. But they were really interested in chocolate because they loved it so much. And so they researched how to make chocolate. And they learned that they needed different machines to do all the different steps. So they made all of their own machines. Like duct tape, hair dryers, PVC pipes, you know, the whole 9 yards. And then from there they grew, and then they became a full-blown company. And cut open these pods, scoop out the insides, and then put everything together in a pile. And they're gonna aggregate the beans and then either ferment them on their own land or drive this pile to a fermentory to then ferment. That's the very first step to unlocking flavor that we humans can do with it is ferment so many different ways, but the farmers that we work with, a lot of them uses tiered fermentation, which means they're like wooden boxes that are just stacked on top of each other like stairs, like a case of stairs. And so the beans will go on the top box and stay there for a little bit. And then depending on what they need, maybe several hours, maybe a day or two, they will open up the slats of the box and scoop the beans into the next box down. A lot of times they'll use an oar, like to row your boat. As you can see, it's still pretty gelatinous. It's nice and stuck together that the food is still there. But once you're moving these beans down into the next box, you're also introducing oxygen. And when that's introduced into this reaction, the alcohol would turn into acetic acid, which is essentially vinegar, and that's going to create the flavors that we're looking for. So all of a sudden, the flavors start to change. I don't know, it's just the material. There's holes in them.
Do you want to close this?
Yes, please. Thank you so much. All right, welcome to our bean room. As you can chocolatey brownie flavor or aroma, because that will happen in the next room, and you can smell that a lot more. But this is a nice fermenty smell. This is the aroma that we're looking for to know, okay, fermentation was a good job. Here are your bags of beans. These hold about 60 to 70 kilos worth of beans, which is like 150 pounds. This one right in front of me is coming from Camino Verde, which is a producer in Ecuador. And we use these beans usually for our ground chocolate to make all the chocolate drinks that you see in the cafe and all of the desserts and things like that, and pastries. But the goal in this room is to sort these bags because we have found that some of the stuff in the bags are not what we want in chocolate. I'm going to pass around a shadow box of things that we have found and things that we have to reject. First of all, there are things that are not cocoa beans in these bags. So in order to separate the non-cocoa beans with the cocoa beans, we will put the beans into this first machine here that's behind the brick wall. If it's hard to see, it looks like this. From where you are, if you can see, it says Oliver on it, so we call it Oliver, but it's a gravity separator. And what it's going to do is separate everything by density and weight. So cocoa beans are of an average size and weight, and anything that's lighter than a cocoa bean will get puffed away by air and then vibrated out if it's heavier than a cocoa bean. And in the shadow box, you'll get to see that there are things like pieces of bag, leaves, shells, dirt. We don't want any of that. The ones that are not in the shadow box that I have heard stories about are someone's found a metal blade, a marble, a Barbie doll shoe, and a dead frog. Push the beans into this room roast beans, like you would roast anything else in your house, like putting it in the oven. It's to keep the beans. It's a kill step to make sure that all the diseases are gone. So no E. coli, no salmonella, things like that. We also ship our beans to a lab for testing to make sure that that's gone as well. Yeah, here, we take that one. So where did our name come from? Dandelion, there's many different reasons, but the basic principle behind the name is that we started off as a startup company in a garage. We planted beans and we grow.
Where's the bean?
And always at a startup, you're always fighting the odds. So that's a big reason why we want to get right.
Right here. Is that the bean? Yes. That's the bean. It's so tiny.
Does what you just did in your hand. So it's going to crack open the beans and then separate the nibs from the husk. So there are rollers in there to crack them, and then there's air blowing in there to blow away the husk into the brown bag. And then if you can see at the bottom, this is be sure to come over this way. These shoots are spitting out all of the nibs into the brown bag, brown box bag.
Well, it's too tiny.
I know, right? Super tiny. And then naturally it'll turn like this. And yes, we do this by hand still to this day.